Welcome. I'm Caroline Nesbitt. I'm a senior at Blue Springs South High School, and today is the first Sunday of Lent and part of our series on violence and peacemaking. So these last few weeks, we've been meeting to discuss what exactly we want to focus on in this service, and something that came up a lot was social media. It's a complicated topic. While there's clearly a dark side to social media, to my generation, it's also a necessity. We use it for communication, news, finding information. So when we were discussing the issues surrounding social media for Youth Sunday, I knew the simple solution of just delete social media wouldn't cut it. We aren't staying up watching the news for a snow day announcement anymore. Our schools let us know on Twitter and Instagram. And it's not just snow days. Any school announcements, such as upcoming fundraisers or club meetings, spirit days, and different deadlines are found exclusively on the school's social media. And while most older generations will text or call, my generation almost always uses Snapchat for messaging. Social media is how we stay connected with our peers and the world around us. Many want to unplug, but it just doesn't seem feasible when everyone you know, even your school, relies on it. Plus, it's not all just necessity. Lots of social media is fun. I know Snapchat can have a bad reputation, but in my experience, it's just another way social media can support connections. Even just a silly picture from a friend of her cats playing, or someone sending a selfie from the coffee shop that I work at shows that they thought of me. They thought the cats would make me smile, or they remembered me mentioning my job. These are just more ways of strengthening bonds and friendships, especially when you're too busy to see friends or live too far apart. To me, the most useful part of social media is the connections you can make. Another example, next year I'm going to be attending the University of Missouri, and I wanted to choose a roommate rather than get randomly assigned one. Almost every college now has Instagram pages for each class, so future students can make friends or find roommates before even stepping foot on campus. Most of the pages look like this. Students will send in a few photos of themselves, a bio saying some things they enjoy, and their Instagram or Snapchat handle in case you want to reach out. Through one of these pages, I was able to find my roommate, Haley. Haley is from Dallas, Texas, and planning to study journalism at Mizzou. We first connected over our shared love of concerts, and were able to get to know each other and ask all the important sleep schedule, pet peeve, roommate questions before deciding to room together. Without social media, I'd never have the opportunity to find a roommate so tailored to me and would be limited to the few people I know who are attending the same school as me or a stranger. Because of social media's ability to connect people from all around the world, my new roommate and friend is from Dallas, and I now know way more future Mizzou students from St. Louis, Chicago, even some from Kansas City who go to different schools than me. Unplugging from social media may sound simple, but social media is part of our lives now. We can't just choose to ignore it. It can be a necessity, it can be fun, but as I've said, it's complicated. So here's Micah to talk about kind of the other side of social media.
Hey there. Hey, is this better? Okay. I'm Micah Burkeisen. I'm a senior at Blue Valley North. And I'm going to start off by talking about a survey that was conducted in 2019. They interviewed kids in the U.S. from ages 18 to 22 about whether they were addicted to social media. And 40% of the kids in that survey said they were. To take it a step further, 5% of that group said that the phrase, "I am addicted to social media," described them completely. So I think that a lot of our reactions in this room to that information might be, like Caroline said, the age-old solution of just putting the screen down and walking away. But it really isn't that simple. If social media is linked to increased anxiety, depression, sleep disruption, antisocial behavior, and even increased risk of suicide, why not just put the screen down? I was wondering the same thing when I was writing this sermon, so I decided to do a little bit of research. And social media is basically a way to drugify human connection. I took that from Dr. Anna Lemke, who is a psychiatry professor at a medical clinic at Stanford University. She said that social media is a way to drugify our connection with each other. See, there's this chemical in our brain, which is called dopamine. And dopamine is a chemical which releases in response to rewarding behavior and pleasurable things, such as eating, connecting with other humans, and doing cocaine. Seriously, don't do cocaine. you laugh at that, but what if I told you that cocaine was actually the second most addicting thing that I just listed? See, social media is able to mimic that human connection, which prompts a dopamine release, such as when we take cocaine, but it's every time we see something on social media, such as a sports highlight, picture of new shoes, or a picture of Jimmy's children. I know we all see them on Facebook. So, like any drug, the more we use social media, the higher our tolerance gets, and the more we crave it and require more. So what happens is our brain undergoes dopamine deficits, which is a response for the increased dopamine surges that we get from scrolling on social media. This can lead to endless scrolling and the feeling of not being able to put your phone down. These dopamine deficits are only half responsible for this phenomenon, though. There's also a hormone in our systems called cortisol. And cortisol helps keep us stimulated when we're doing everyday activities. What social media does is it tricks our brain into releasing this hormone, cortisol, and it keeps us stimulated the entire time we are scrolling on social media. In an article published in Forbes magazine in March 2022, it says, when we use social media, it produces a boy who cried wolf effect on our body in terms of the cortisol it releases. Cortisol is constantly being released to keep us stimulated. These high levels of cortisol lead to depression, PTSD, and even digestive issues. Another issue with this is different people need different levels of stimulation from social media due to this cortisol release, which can lead to a lot of negativity found on social media. It gets to the point where every time someone like us, our age, logs into social media, we're gambling whether it's a positive or negative experience. So, what is the basis for all this negativity? In order to answer that question, I have to take a step back and look at the internet as a whole level playing field. I took this quote from psychologist John Suler in a 2004 paper where the phrase first arose, the online disinhibition effect. He says, with a lack of authoritative figures, the online disinhibition effect rises. This is the loss of mental and supervisory safeguards to our words, which can cause us to communicate in a way that is less compassionate, civil, and empathetic. See, on social media, people are harder to track, they have an easier time misrepresenting themselves, and they don't have to worry about tone and nonverbals such as body language. This creates an online world of trolls, instigators, and haters that we have to navigate through every day. It's an environment where cruelty is overwhelmingly normalized. With all the negativity, it's hard for people our age not to get engulfed in this. Which brings me back to the focus of the sermon, being a peacemaker in an online world. See, when Jimmy first told us that that was the theme of this sermon, I almost lost all hope right then and there for what I was going to talk about. Because not only is being a peacemaker in an online world impossible, but it's not even plausible. Attempting to make peace with every idiot you find on the internet is like trying to feed 5,000 people with just 5 loaves and 2 fish. And that brings me to my scripture reading. This is Romans 12, 18 through 21. If possible, to the best of your ability, live at peace with all people. Don't try to get revenge from yourselves, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath. It is written, revenge belongs to me. I will pay it back, says the Lord. Instead, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him a drink. By doing this, you will pile burning coals of fire upon his head. Don't be defeated by evil, but defeat evil by good. This is the way to both escape the trap of social media and to deal with the negativity we find on there. See, we can't attempt to make peace between others, but we have to make peace within ourselves first. The only way to truly be a peacemaker in this modern, unhinged, infinite online world is to live at peace with yourself and to trust Jesus to deliver peace. With that being said, I'll be passing the sermon over to Grayson to share her journey of self-peace and how she has found love and helped her be a peacemaker in this modern world.
Thank you, Micah. Good morning, everybody. My name is Grayson Harms, and I will be a freshman at Wichita State University this fall. I am the type of person who loves to bring peace to others. I find joy in going out of my way to do something helpful for somebody I love. I have learned, however, that I cannot be that kind of person for others until I am that person for myself. Throughout high school, I have struggled with my mental health. It took me so long to be honest with myself that I was hurting, and then being honest with my family took even longer. Once I was finally able to admit that I needed help, I could tell that peace was coming. Looking back on my mental health journey, the best thing I've done for myself is graduating early from high school. I used to wake up and struggle to get myself out of bed at the thought of having to go to school, to see people, and to pretend that I was happy. After talking with my parents and my school counselor, we figured out a way for me to finish high school early. It took a lot of hard work, determination, and if I'm being honest, a lot of tears, but finishing high school a semester early is one of my proudest accomplishments. Once all the weight of school was off of my shoulders, it was easier for me to continue to heal. I can't avoid seeing pictures on social media of events like basketball games, dances, and fundraisers. Giving up the social part of high school and dealing with the FOMO is still hard, but I am still sound in my decision. I have learned the lesson that peace starts inside of each of us, even when society or the online world makes you think otherwise. After working within myself, I am now able to put effort into helping others. James chapter 1, verse 27 says it clearly. True devotion, the kind that is pure and faultless before God the Father, is this: to care for orphans and widows in their difficulties and to keep the world from contaminating us. Helping someone does not need to be this huge gesture. It can even be something as simple as saving some snacks for your little brother because you know they're his favorite, or helping your family with projects around the house. I'm not saying you have to make peace with the whole world, but sprinkling peace around you can inspire a movement of change and love. To help with this movement, something we can all do is make an effort to notice the peace others are giving us and where we ourselves can spread peace. And now I'd like to invite Megan to talk about how celebrities are dealing with online criticism and how they are becoming peacemakers.
Hi, I'm Megan. I'm a senior at Blue Spring South High School. Is it? You good? Okay. Raise your hand if you've heard of Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift. All right. If you haven't heard of her, she first came into popularity in 2006 when she was 15, making country music. And since then, she's become one of the most popular music artists in modern music history. I think that's fair to say. But the spotlight always comes with drawbacks. Ever since she's become famous, she's gotten constant criticism as a woman in the industry. In 2019, she won Billboard's Woman of the Decade, and here's an excerpt from her speech, where she shares her experience with public criticism.
Basically, if people had something to say about me, I usually said something back in my own way. And this reflex dictated more than just my lyrics. When Fearless did win Album of the Year at the Grammys, with that win came criticism in backlash in 2010 that I'd never experienced before as a young new artist. All of a sudden, people had doubts about my singing voice. Was it strong enough? Was I a little bit pitchy? All of a sudden, they weren't sure if I was the one writing the songs. At that time, I couldn't understand why this wave of harsh criticism had hit me so hard. I now have come to expect that with good news comes some sort of pushback. I didn't know then that soon enough people would decide on something else I wasn't quite doing right, and then the circle would keep going on and rolling along, and I would keep accommodating, overcorrecting in an effort to appease my critics. In the last 10 years, I have watched as women in this industry are criticized and measured up to each other and picked at for their bodies, their romantic lives, their fashion. I've learned that the difference between those who can continue to create in that climate usually comes down to this: who lets that scrutiny break them and who just keeps making art.
So the song Lavender Haze from Taylor's newest album really captures her experience with the media. She talks about a lavender haze that helps her shield from all the hate that she's getting. The haze is representative of all of her loved ones surrounding her with peace in times of negativity. This morning we talked about starting with the peace inside of us and letting it flow out to those we love. I invite you in this time to reflect what you can do to be a peacemaker for yourself and others.
Meet me at midnight. Staring at the ceiling with you. Oh, you don't ever say too much. And you don't really read into my melancholia. I've been under scrutiny. Yeah, oh yeah. You handle it beautifully. Yeah, oh yeah. All of this is new to me. Yeah.